She didn't block you because you were cruel, my friend. She blocked you because you had the same excitement level as a 3 a.m. educational documentary. Predictable, bland, zero mystery. Let me slap you with the truth no one else had the guts to say. Women don't fall for what's easy. They're drawn to what challenges them, what has more layers than an onion. And you? Sending good morning like that's gonna melt hearts? Meanwhile, some dude disappears for hours, answers when he feels like it, and guess who's keeping her up at night? Exactly. Wake up, Pikachu! Feeling uncomfortable? Good. It's supposed to sting. Because if this slap doesn't break your little romantic fantasy, you're gonna stay stuck in the zany sky cycle, TM. Give 100%, get 10%, and still beg for feedback like a flunked student. Here's the deal. You didn't lose because you were nice. You lost because you were predictable, boring, as available as free airport Wi-Fi. Always there, always eager, always needy. And nothing kills attraction faster than neediness, wearing a just being nice mask. But that changes now. Today, my friend, you stop being the sweet soap opera character and start understanding what really messes with their heads. And spoiler alert, this ain't some sugary pickup guide. This is a hardcore transformation manual for men tired of being ignored and ready to become the one she looks for at 3 a.m. If you're into that, take a deep breath. Like, seriously breathe, 'cause this might hurt a bit if you're still stuck in your Disney love delusion. And before you act all cool to skip liking or subscribing, remember, this content exists because someone with more awareness than you hit that button first. So give back to the algorithm gods and hit thanks, even if it's fake. YouTube doesn't care about your feelings. It runs on clicks. Now, enough with the fluff. Let's go straight for the punch. Because the first behavior alone will flip your entire mindset. Number 1, surgical indifference, because being a doormat ain't fashionable. She hit you with the classic "hey stranger" just to check if she still has you like a remote-controlled dog. And you? Replied in 2 minutes with a voice note, a GIF, a paragraph, maybe even smoke signals. Like a stray dog hearing the rustle of a food bag. Result? She read it, tossed her phone, and went to her group chat to roast how predictable you are. Congrats, you're a meme now. That sting you feel? Good. Better now than later while you're starving for digital crumbs, thinking availability equals attraction. The irresistible man doesn't chase blue ticks. He doesn't throw emotional tantrums on WhatsApp. And he definitely doesn't text like it's an Olympic speed typing event. The first step to being unforgettable, mastering the art of surgical indifference, not turning into a human iceberg, but learning how not to react to every flying hey. While the masses perform like circus clowns for attention, the interesting guy replies when and if he feels like it. And when he does, it's short, dry, mysterious. No lol no essay explaining his absence. Just enough to not sound like a bot. What happens next? The miracle of doubt. She starts spiraling. He didn't reply in 2 minutes. Did he lose interest? Did I say something wrong? Is he with someone else? Boom. Chaos unlocked. Because women don't fall in love with serenades, they fall for the challenge, the contrast, the mystery. The doubt keeps the fire alive. The man who's there 1 minute, gone the next. Who's living his own life. Who doesn't dance to her playlist. But listen up, genius. Being indifferent doesn't mean being petty. It's not ignoring out of revenge. It's showing that your time and energy are premium not available at emotional clearance sales. The more she struggles to decode your silence, the more tangled she gets. And that's when you start renting space in her mental hard drive. Not for your intensity, but for your rarity. And if you're panicking thinking, but if I ignore her, she might walk away. Congratulations. You're finally ready to live without being someone's emotional spare tire. If she disappears, she just saved you the trouble of filtering her out. Now breathe, wipe the tears, and brace yourself. Because the next move is about building the kind of self-worth that can't be bought or begged for. Number 2, unshakable self-worth, because begging for love is so. 2010. If surgical indifference is your shield, unshakable self-worth is the sword that slices through silent humiliation. Because let's face it, what's the point of playing cool on the outside if you're still acting like a wet puppy on the inside, begging for love? Let's drop the fairy dust and face reality. Women feel things, no crystal ball needed. They can sense when you're trying too hard, when you're desperately auditioning for their approval. And you know what that creates? Lust? Eternal love? Nope. Straight up disgust. The irresistible man? He's not up on stage begging for applause. He is the show. Walks into a room and doesn't have to say a word because his vibe screams, "I know who I am. I don't need your approval to exist." It's not about being hot, rich, or jacked. It's about being unshakable. Real self-worth doesn't make noise. It just is. Like a sleeping volcano, quiet, but powerful enough to burn fragile egos to ashes. This kind of man doesn't live to please, he lives to choose. He's got standards. He filters. And he doesn't accept emotional breadcrumbs just 'cause he's lonely on a rainy Sunday. She shows up late. He leaves. She plays games. He goes offline. She tries jealousy tricks. He looks bored. Because he's not there to be manipulated. He's there by choice, not by need. And that, my dude, is the difference between men she forgets and men she can't get over. While you're out there earning affection with your nice guy routine, the man with unshakable worth is the one she wants to win over, the one she's afraid to lose, the one she respects without him ever raising his voice. But careful now. Self-worth isn't being a jerk. It's not acting like the second coming of Casanova. It's knowing you're enough. That if she leaves, it's fine. You stay whole. Because she never completed you in the first place. And she'll feel that. She'll either step up or run. Because facing a man who knows himself is the ultimate test. And the best part, either way, you win. Because a man who knows his worth doesn't go on sale just to be accepted. He'd rather lose her than lose himself. Now shake off the nerves, straighten your spine, and prepare yourself. Because the next punch hits right where it hurts most. Emotional control. Number 3, emotional control. Because losing your cool is for rookies. You can have a gym body, a fat bank account, designer clothes. But if you can't control your emotions, you're just a digital Tamagotchi in her hands. One poke and you start beeping. An irresistible man isn't the one who explodes. He's the one who feels everything and reacts to almost nothing. That, my friend, is terrifying. Because most guys can't handle 5 minutes of silence without spiraling. They see last seen at 3:38 and they're already typing a novel with crying emojis. Pathetic. Now picture the guy who gets provoked and just smirks, who hears nonsense and replies with a calm, noted, like a monk on Xanax, who spots emotional manipulation from miles away and just watches like he's bored at a bad play. That guy, he's dangerous because he doesn't give in. He doesn't break. He doesn't throw himself on the floor just because she's doing her drama queen performance on hormonal mode. Why does that matter? Because the moment you react like a teenager in love, you hand over your power. Worse, you hand over your self-respect. And once that's gone, you become her emotional jester. Women test, always. Sometimes just for sport. Sometimes as an emotional defense. They want to know, can this guy handle pressure, or will he melt like ice cream on asphalt? The emotionally dominant man doesn't put on a show. She disappears. He doesn't chase. She acts out. He watches. She threatens. He yawns. Simple as that. He feels everything but chooses what to show. And that choice, that's power. Because what she can't read, she can't control. Want to start training this? Start now. Feeling angry? Shut up. Feeling jealous? Breathe. Feeling the urge to reply instantly? Close WhatsApp and drop for 10 push-ups. At first, you'll think you're suppressing yourself. But no, champ, you're building strength. Emotional control is like a muscle. It grows with resistance, not with tantrums. And speaking of resistance, stop letting yourself be her premium doormat. It's time to throw out the sweet guy gets stepped on script and take back the lead role. By the way, if you're still living off emotional scraps, there's a free gift waiting in the description. A digital book that'll show you how to stop being Mr. Pick Me, Please, and become the man who picks. The one who sets the tone. The one who doesn't beg, crawl, or tremble. Because this world, my friend, doesn't respect the ones who kneel. It only listens to the ones who rise and say, either treat me right or don't even bother. Now hold tight, because the next point is going to add some serious flavor, the power of mystery. And spoiler, if you think oversharing builds connection, you're about to learn that silence well used is more seductive than any poetic love speech. Number 4, mysterious without the act. Let's be clear about one thing. There's a massive difference between being mysterious and being a confused wannabe with an identity crisis. The first is magnetic. The second, cringe with a plot twist. The brutally irresistible man doesn't try to be different. He doesn't show up to a first date dumping trauma, exes who never understood him, his runaway dog, and a sob story childhood like he's paying for therapy with a coffee. He doesn't give away the gold for free. He knows mystery isn't hiding, it's pacing. It's leaving strategic blanks. It's saying just enough to intrigue and just little enough to leave her wanting more. It's telling half the story and stopping right at the climax, just to watch her eyes try to put the puzzle together. Why does this work? Because the human brain hates unfinished stories. When you leave gaps, her mind goes full FBI. She builds theories, assumptions, fantasies, and desire. And guess what? Most of the time, the version she builds of you is better than reality. Congrats, you became her premium fantasy without breaking a sweat. But here's the key difference between men and boys. Mystery only works if it's real. If you actually have an interesting life. If you have focus, routines, goals, purpose, and you're not glued to your phone waiting for her to check your status. Classic mistake, faking mystery as a technique. Some guys pretend to be busy. Pretend not to care. Act detached. And crumble by day 3 of radio silence. And what does she do? Instantly clocks the low-budget acting and mentally deletes you faster than you'd swipe spam. The man who's truly mysterious doesn't fake a thing. He's not MIA as a strategy. He's just genuinely busy living, working, creating, building something that has zero to do with impressing her. And that creates real interest. Because now he's an authentic enigma. And every enigma attracts. Every enigma seduces. Not because he's hiding, but because he's focused. And a man with focus doesn't have time to over-explain himself. She doesn't fall for you because you tell her everything. She falls because she never knows everything. Because you're unpredictable. Because every conversation feels like peeling a new layer. And before she realizes it, she's caught in a loop of curiosity that's basically the holy grail of desire. Now that we've made it crystal clear that pretending to be deep only works on emotionally shallow people, it's time for the next punch of reality. Dark humor and sharp wit. Because the irresistible man doesn't act like a clown to be liked. He pokes where it hurts and still gets her to laugh. Number 5. Dark humor. Because clowns get laughed at, not respected. Let's get one thing straight. Women don't fall for the guy trying too hard to be funny. They laugh, sure, but it's the same laugh they give to TikTok filters and drunk uncles. Harmless, disposable, forgotten. Now, the man who's dangerously attractive, he doesn't tell jokes. He is the punchline with a twist of poison. His humor isn't designed to please, it's designed to sting. He drops truth like a slap disguised as sarcasm. He makes her laugh while making her think. And that, my friend, is rare. Because most guys are too scared to trigger, too desperate for approval. They say what's safe. They filter every word. They live in the land of, haha, yeah, same here. Not this guy. He teases her ego like it's a game of chess. Makes a comment that sounds playful but slices. Says what nobody else dares but smiles while doing it. And she laughs, confused, flushed, intrigued. Because what just happened? He didn't flatter her, he challenged her. He didn't simp, he sparred. And that, right there, is what separates the fool from the flame. Because when a man can make her feel not just comfortable, but slightly off balance, that's when the emotional hooks dig in. The guy who isn't afraid to roast her Starbucks addiction, to poke at her Instagram addiction, to call out the deep quotes she posts right after ghosting someone. Not to be mean, but to be real. It's a kind of flirtation that dances on the edge of danger, and she loves it. Because it signals something she rarely finds. A man who doesn't pedestalize her. A man who sees through the performance. Who treats her like an equal capable of taking a hit and maybe even swinging back. This humor isn't comedy. It's confidence. It's social courage. It's knowing that you don't need to be liked to be wanted. That she might roll her eyes, but she won't forget you. Now here's the catch. Timing is everything. Dark humor with shaky energy comes off bitter. Dark humor with real presence comes off sexy. So don't overdo it. Don't force it. Just be unapologetically sharp. Because the man who can mock the world, mock her, and even mock himself, is the man who's already won the psychological game. And now that we've weaponized your sarcasm, let's upgrade your presence. Because the next trait isn't about words, it's about how you exist in a room. You ready to walk like someone who owns every space he enters? Or do you still need permission? Let's go! Number 6. Selective coldness. Because vanishing at the right time is worth more than 100 needy messages. Still don't get why the more you give, the faster she disappears. Why the more present you are, the more she treats you like emotional wallpaper. Easy, man. You confused consistency with value. Worse, you mistook availability for desirability. The brutally irresistible man knows better. He doesn't cling. He doesn't check in daily. He's not the good morning guy from customer service. He shows up with presence and disappears with purpose. And no, this isn't some cheap mind game. It's emotional intelligence in action. He knows that absence speaks louder than any long paragraph. He doesn't send flowers, he sends silence. And that silence, priceless. When she starts replying with dry emojis, when the spark turns lukewarm, when the conversations feel like a slow death. The average guy panics. He overcompensates, becomes a faucet of attention. Wrong, dumb, pathetic. The real man? He goes quiet, fades out. No drama, no goodbye notes. No, we need to talk. He just stops showing up. And guess what? She feels it. Oh, she feels it.
Did he get tired of me?
Did I do something wrong? Did he meet someone else? Perfect. Now her mind is a war zone. You're not saying a word, but you're taking over her thoughts. You've become mental presence, the kind that hurts, that haunts, that hooks. But listen, genius, selective coldness doesn't mean ghosting forever. That's called neglect, and any self-respecting woman deletes neglect without blinking. The power is in the timing, a sharp, strategic cut, a disappearance that stings, that she doesn't understand, but never forgets. And when you return, no excuses, no explanations. You walk in calm, collected, with a look that says, "My life is busy, but right now, you've got my attention. Use it wisely." That contrast between warm presence and chilling absence, addictive. She never knows if she'll get affection or silence, and that's when she can't stop thinking about you. While she's tangled in emotional confusion, the irresistible man is operating on a whole other level. Because romance isn't his world, it's a side quest. He's got something bigger, purpose, a mission, a path that doesn't need her gaze to feel valid. And that leads us right into the next slap of reality. The man who never puts a woman above his mission. Want to keep going or need a minute to catch your breath first? Number 7, clear priorities. Because living for someone else means losing yourself. She'll say she wants attention, affection, sweet good nights with Paris filters. But in reality, what truly captivates her is the man whose life doesn't orbit around her. A man she has to earn space with, not one who hands it over out of pity. The brutally irresistible man doesn't live for a relationship. He lives for a purpose. He's got a mission, a vision, a direction. And along that path, she's a welcome companion, never a distraction. While the average guy hits pause on his life because she said, "I miss you," the high-value man checks his calendar and says, "Can't." And he doesn't feel guilty about it. He doesn't cancel, doesn't reschedule, doesn't sacrifice progress. Because he knows something you don't. If you stop prioritizing yourself to please others, you stop being interesting. Period. And here's the twist. What you call coldness is what actually draws her in. She sees a man with structure, with goals, with direction. She sees the world spinning with or without her. And what happens? She starts chasing inclusion. She wants to be seen, to be chosen, to matter. But not because you begged for it, because you stood firm, because you made it clear. Your energy isn't on clearance. That before you give love, you have a mission. And once she sees that, she plays the game. Because women don't fall for servants. They fall for kings. For men who rule their own lives, who say no with ease and only say yes when it's worth their time. Let's be clear. Having priorities doesn't mean being cold. It's not about ignoring or disrespecting. It's about showing that your attention is a reward, not a handout. Because the man who sacrifices everything for love ends up with no love, no respect, no direction. If that made you swallow hard, good. Because the next part's only for those with a strong stomach. Emotional audacity. The guts to speak your mind, to confront what no one else will. To be the mirror she hates, but never forgets. Number 8. Emotional audacity. Because pleasing her is the fastest way to be forgotten. Ever stayed quiet just to keep the vibe? Let a disrespectful comment slide to avoid ruining the mood? Held back what you really wanted to say just to seem mature? Congrats. You weren't mature. You were predictable. An emotional doormat who'd rather be stepped on than be real. And you know what emotional predictability creates? Boredom, apathy, and yep, silent contempt disguised as, "You're such a nice guy." The brutally irresistible man? He doesn't play that game. He speaks up. He calls things out. He tears off the mask of peace at all costs and says, "If we're gonna have peace, let it be real, not this fake silent truce." This guy has the guts to be uncomfortable. He doesn't sugarcoat to keep things smooth. He delivers truth to keep respect alive. You know that phrase everyone swallows? He spits it out. That boundary everyone tiptoes around? He marks it in stone. That awkward moment people sweep under the rug? He throws it on the table under a spotlight. And no, it's not rudeness, it's integrity. He looks her dead in the eye and says, "That was selfish. You're being immature. If you want someone to play this game with you, look elsewhere." She may foam at the mouth on the outside, but on the inside, it's pure admiration. Silent, primal, because deep down, every woman respects a man who has the guts to be disliked and still stands tall. A man who doesn't fold, doesn't beg, doesn't sell his soul for approval. This guy doesn't play to please, he plays to stay true. That's why she never knows how he'll react. That's why she can't label him like the rest. He doesn't trade authenticity for comfort. He chooses truth even if it costs him a storm. And that's why he becomes unforgettable. Now, if you think that level of honesty is already too much, hold tight, because the next point breaks the whole social filter you've been hiding behind. Unfiltered authenticity. When a man doesn't just speak his mind, he lives it. No apologies, no approval seeking, no mask. Number 9, unfiltered authenticity. Because playing a role might impress, but it drains you, and you weren't born to entertain. Since you were a kid, they taught you to be polite, be nice, don't be too blunt, don't come off as harsh. Translation? They taught you to be who others expect, not who you really are. The result? A generation of housebroken men, full of fake smiles, borrowed jokes, rehearsed manners. A whole army of emotional chameleons trying to not offend and failing to impress. But the brutally irresistible man, different species. He doesn't adjust his tone, doesn't filter thoughts, doesn't memorize lines, doesn't mimic behaviors. He shows up. He is. Period. And if it ruffles feathers, even better. If he's serious, he won't fake laugh to fit in. If he disagrees, he'll say it. If he doesn't vibe with something, he'll make it clear. No yelling, no bowing his head either. What does that cause? Discomfort, tension, impact. Because in a world full of men who shapeshift with every setting, seeing one stay solid is damn near revolutionary. He's the same with friends, with her, with his mom, with the barista. Because he's not acting. He's living. He doesn't apologize for being firm. Doesn't water down his opinion to make it easier to swallow. He says what he means, and lives what he says. She sees it in a glance, feels it in the conversation, and secretly admires it. Because she knows this guy isn't trying to win her. He's too busy being himself. And that kind of raw authenticity, addictive. Because everyone wants to be around someone who doesn't have to fake anything to be magnetic. Sure, some people won't like it. They'll call you arrogant, cold, hard to deal with. But guess what? Those people don't matter. Because the irresistible man isn't trying to please the world. He's attracting those who can handle truth. And when he finds someone who gets it, the game changes. Because now, whoever stays for who he really is, not who he pretended to be. And if this still hasn't opened your eyes, brace yourself. The final punch is coming. And it's not for those who fake detachment to get attention. It's about real detachment. The cold, clean kind. The kind that doesn't come back. The kind that finally proves you've outgrown the need to beg. Number 10. Real detachment, not performative. Because if you have to pretend you don't care, you're still chained. You ever pulled the classic, do whatever you want, I don't care, just to seem cool? While checking your phone like a lovesick teen every 3 minutes? Then congratulations, you're not detached. You're just a bad actor in a low-budget emotional drama. And worse, she sees right through it. Women have radar for emotional truth. She may not say it, she might even reply. But inside, she's already filed you under weak. The brutally irresistible man doesn't announce detachment. He just vanishes. Gone like he never existed. And the scariest part? He doesn't come back. Not out of pride, out of clarity. The kind that says, if I had to beg for your presence, then your absence is a gift. While the average dude is dropping, just checking in texts and sending songs that remind him of her, the real man deletes the whole vibe. Wipes his emotional signature. Leaves not to provoke, but because the game isn't worth playing anymore. And it's not because he doesn't feel, it's because he does, and still chooses not to depend. He refuses to orbit someone who only spins when it suits them. That's rare, extremely rare. Because most guys live in the forever what if. What if she changes? What if she comes back? What if she finally sees? Meanwhile, the detached man already changed, already leveled up, already moved on. And when she finally notices, it's too late. She might try to come back, but now she's talking to a different man. One who doesn't need her. One who doesn't miss her. One who, honestly, barely remembers what needing her even felt like. That kind of coldness is terrifying. Not because it wounds, but because it ends things. Quietly. Without closure. Without theater. And that's exactly why. It fascinates. Because the man who knows how to walk away and never turns around is the man who never betrays himself, who stays loyal to his values, who doesn't live off anyone's presence, just off the truth he lives by. He's not cruel to her. He's ruthlessly loyal to himself. And that, my friend, is what makes him irresistible. Not as a tactic, but as a stance. Bonus block. The invisible behaviors that made you the forgettable. Nice guy. Let's cut the fluff. You might have done everything right, followed every romance guru's advice, been the respectful, present, sweet guy, and still ended up as a distant memory faster than a deleted chat. Why? Because you fell for the classic traps. Let's break them down one by one.
1. Being too sweet. The fast pass to emotional oblivion.
You think you're showing care, empathy, sensitivity. She sees a needy, soft, insecure man. Too sweet is like flavorless dessert. Sounds nice, but leaves nothing behind. She wants desire, not pity. 2. Always being available. The fastest way to become emotional doormat. She texts, you reply. She cancels, you adjust. She ghosts, you wait. Congrats. You've become emotional public Wi-Fi. Always available. Respected by no one. Want to be remembered. Learn to say no. Learn to vanish. Learn to have a life. 3. Talking too much. Doing too little. The hallmark of a daydreamer. You say you'll change. You'll grow. This time it's different. But your actions are weaker than hotel Wi-Fi. Women notice. Always. And the moment she sees you're all talk, it's game over. 4. Never saying no. The spineless submissive combo. You agree with everything. You tolerate everything. Even disrespect. What does she see? A man terrified of losing. And when she realizes you fear loss more than you value yourself, you lose her respect. And once that's gone, so is attraction. 5. Emotional predictability. The rerun nobody watches. She knows what you'll say, how you'll react, even how you'll apologize. You've become a soap opera rerun. Same drama, same script, zero spark. Women don't cling to what's fully understood. They crave what challenges them, what surprises, what defies the pattern. These behaviors are like cheap cologne, strong at first, but fade in minutes. You might impress briefly, but you'll never be remembered. And in the real man's world, being forgotten is worse than being rejected. Final slap. Now you get it. Now you understand. You get why the guy who doesn't reply becomes an obsession, while the one who replies in 10 seconds becomes background noise. You get why the nice guy gets dry emojis, while the indifferent one lives rent-free in her thoughts. You get why being predictable, needy, and always available is the VIP lane to being erased. But the most important realization, being brutally irresistible isn't about being a jerk. It's about having a spine. It's about not trading your values for crumbs of affection. It's about putting yourself first, not out of ego, but out of identity. These aren't seduction hacks. They're ways of living, ways of carrying yourself, ways of showing up. When you embody this, you don't just play the game. You rewrite the rules. You start attracting those who once ignored you. You start being respected where you were once just tolerated. And best of all, you start being remembered without ever needing to beg for attention. Yeah, it'll piss some people off. They'll say you've changed, that you're colder, distant, tougher. But what they're really saying is, damn, I can't control him anymore. And that's when you win. Because the man who is emotionally free, who lives for himself and not for external validation, is a real threat. To those who only know how to manipulate puppets, he's an enigma, a glitch in the matrix, a nightmare they can't decode. And that's exactly why he stays. In the mind, in the body, in the desire. So now you decide. You can close this and go back to being the nice guy no one picks. Or apply every word you've read slowly, deeply, and become the man who enters her mind and never leaves. But before you go, here's my challenge. Comment below which of these truths hit you the hardest, which one hurt, which one hit deep, and if you've got the guts, ask for part 2. Because what's coming next is even sharper. This ain't about selling dreams, it's about waking you the hell up. End of the game, or the start of a new one. You choose.